Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long.
There you go. It's weird.
You can hear me?
Yeah. What's going in and out? When you're messing with it, then it becomes better. Either it's not, maybe it's not in all the way. No. But when you're like trying to bring up the mic, then I can hear audio. No.
Are we live? Are we good?
Good.
Okay. Take
We're
number
good.
Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Thursday, October 13th. I'm your host, Jon June. And of course, I got my guy here with me, Greg Penniman. Greg, what's good?
What's good? What's good? Fighting through this rain. I got this rain tonight. Canceled my Yankee game. Not happy about that, but it's all good. Looking forward to this Thursday night football. Bears, Commanders. Let's get it.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football, Bears, Commanders. I was just saying before when I was speaking into the abyss that the Carson Wentz is 6-0 on Thursday Night Football.
Wow. The fact that he's
Yeah.
played 6 Thursday night games is awesome. That's crazy.
Yeah, good for him, definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to talk more about this Thursday night football, but I'd much rather be able to watch the game after this. So let's
Mhm.
get into these 1 p.m. games. Uh, Not a lot of games to break down this week with the bye week. So, that's I realize that I do love this time of year when it comes to how long we end up recording these podcasts. But today we will go over the Chicago Bears, Washington first, or sorry, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Tampa Bay Bucks, Colts versus Jags, Saints versus Bengals, Packers versus Jets, Browns versus Patriots, Dolphins versus Vikings, Giants versus Ravens, and the Atlanta Falcons versus the San Francisco 49ers. So let's jump right into it. Um, Starting with the 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. This game has a 43.5 point total, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 7.5 point favorites on the road. In terms of weather, all the games this week, there seems to be a mix of rain in the forecast. So nothing egregious. The big thing to worry about is wind, which I didn't see anything that would be alert me to feel like or to think that that would be an issue this week. But Pat Fryermuth is questionable for concussion. Um, Terrell Edmonds, the safety, he's full participant dealing with a concussion. Levi Wallace, the cornerback, is in concussion protocol. Russell Gage is dealing with an ankle injury. Or sorry, for Minka Fitzpatrick is out, was questionable with the knee, and then the Steelers have a bunch of other guys questionable. For Tampa Bay, Russell Gage is dealing with an ankle; he's limited. Cam Brate was a full participant in practice, dealing with a concussion. Um, Julio Jones, he was a DNP with a knee. Chris Godwin was DNP for rest, but he's also on the injury report with a hip and a knee. Sean Murphy Bunting, DNP with a quad. That's the corner. And then Logan Ryan, the safeties, DNP with a foot. And the other safety, Mike Edwards, is limited with an elbow. So pretty banged up secondary there for the Bucks. I am gonna take in this game. I'm gonna take the. Oh, that secondary banged up makes me want to take the over. I will. Yeah, let's just go with it. I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Tampa Bay to cover. I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win the game. I feel like Najee Harris, he's been probably disappointing to most managers. He was not a guy that I think either one of us were very high on, Greg, coming into the year. But if you drafted him, he's on your team. Maybe you're playing in dynasty, like you got to roll this guy out there as just an RB2 who's probably going to get you 10 points. Like, I mean, you put him out there, and that's kind of what the expectation is. Maybe he falls into the end zone one week, and maybe he'll catch. He's not getting a ton of targets this year, so he's an RB2. Deontay Johnson, a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. George Pickens, a wide receiver 3. Um, Pat Fryermuth, if he can go, he's in a nice spot, but he's obviously dealing with the concussion. On the Tampa Bay side, I think Tom Brady, he's a top 12 quarterback this week. Pittsburgh's defense hasn't been very strong against the pass. Leonard Fournette, he's an RB1. Mike Evans, a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, and then I think Godwin is a wide receiver 3 as he continues to get healthier. Russell Gage, if he can go, as a wide receiver 4/flex, and then Rashad White continues to be a stash.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Tampa to cover, and Tampa to win. Yeah, it should be, definitely a true test for Steelers quarterback. And I think that that he's gonna get blessed a lot, so they don't really test him and see what he can do. So I think Tampa's defense should run away here, but they do have a lot of injuries in that secondary for sure. Najee Harris, I agree with you. He's the RB 27 on the year so far, so he's right in that low end RB2 range, getting about 10 points a week. So you got to treat him as is until you see this offense get much better. Deontay Johnson, low borderline, high strong wide receiver too, especially in PPR. I think he has some wide receiver 1 upside because he's going to get targeted the most. Um, Especially with Pat Fryermuth if he's not going to be able to go with the concussion. And then that's what I'm looking at on the Steelers side. The Buck side, um, Tom Brady definitely he's a start. Leonard Fournette's a start. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I agree is getting better and getting healthier. He's going to get consistent targets he's just going to target Mike Evans and Godwin throughout the season now that he's got both of them. So yeah, and then depending on who's starting at tight end, I think always has some streaming value. Cameron Brate, yeah, but also the fill-in was able to get some points last week as well.
Yeah, I think that actually goes both ways there with on the Tampa Bay side with Zach Gentry, as well on the Pittsburgh side. I mean, because Cade Otton on the Tampa Bay side and Zach Gentry on the Pittsburgh side. Dat boy Caden 5. Yo, I made it. We appreciate you, Caden. Always in here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so like Cade Otton and Zach Gentry. Zach Gentry's got a nice athletic profile. I think that if Freiermuth is out, he could take advantage of this matchup as well. Yeah, I had it under Tampa Bay to cover, Tampa Bay to win, but I just went with the over really quick. Yeah. I don't know. I'm with you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Moving on to this next matchup here, we've got the 2-3 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Indianapolis to take on the 2-1 Indianapolis Colts. This game has a 41.5 point total, where the Jacksonville Jaguars are 2.5 point road underdogs. Weather is okay in this game in terms of injuries. Jonathan Taylor was limited participant in practice. He's questionable dealing with that ankle injury. The linebacker Shaq Leonard, DNP with a concussion. Naheem Hines dealing with a concussion in the red non-contact. Kwity Paye, questionable with an ankle. He's week to week. He's a defensive lineman. Excuse me. Ashton Doolin, the wide receiver, he's on IR with a foot injury, so he'll be out for the rest of the year, or for the remainder of the foreseeable future, as he could make it back. And then for Jacksonville, Zay Jones, he's limited with an ankle. Offensive tackle Ben Barch was put on injury reserve with a knee. Greg, where are you going with this matchup here?
It's tough, especially how that first game went out. I think, actually, yeah, I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna take Jacksonville to cover and Jacksonville to win again. Jacksonville's secondary has been solid. That's when Matt Ryan had his worst game. He had 3 picks in that last game. I think Jacksonville will, kind of have his number again this week, especially if JT can't go. So on the Colts side, obviously, if JT is going, you're starting him. You didn't draft him first of all to not. If not, you're kind of looking at Philip Lindsay and Deion Jackson again as being. Deion Jackson got a lot of carries last week. They kind of mix it up. They're both committee RB3, RB4s. And as far as the receivers, Michael Pittman, wide receiver 2, Alec Pierce, I think is also a inflex conversation. He's going to be probably second in targets after Michael Pittman, if not tied with him. He playing better each week. And on the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence, borderline QB1 territory. James Robinson and Travis Etienne, I think, are both playable at this point. I still am leaning towards James Robinson a little bit, but you can start to see things trending. I'll keep an eye on that on the touches this week. Robinson as a RB2 and Etienne as a flex. And then receivers is really I think the bigger question mark of who's going to be the number 1 receiver in this team. Christian Kirk, I still would put him in first. And then after that, it's definitely a question mark between Marvin Jones, Zay Jones. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm gonna take the over here, gonna take Indy to cover. I don't even feel great about it. I'm gonna take Indy to,
yeah.
I'm gonna take Indy to cover. I'm gonna take Indy to win. If Jonathan Taylor can go, this is a fabulous matchup for him. Great spot. We saw Damian Pierce did last week. Alec Pierce is definitely up and coming. I think he's a wide receiver 3. I think Michael Pittman Jr. he's had some bad luck in terms of he hasn't been really The touchdowns haven't really been there in the red zone, and he's not really being targeted down the field either, which I think that's definitely capped some of what we thought that we would get from a player like Michael Pittman Jr. But I still see him as wide receiver 2. I think as Alec Pierce gets better as the season goes on, that Michael Pittman Jr. should benefit from that. Um, for Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence probably just outside QB1 territory for me. James Robinson, I agree with you. I go him over ETN, but they're both. It's close. It's closer than it was 2 weeks ago. So that they're definitely both RB2s. Christian Kirk, he's the wide receiver 1 on the team, but I think he's more of a wide receiver 2 this week. I kind of misspoke before. We're talking about the Jacksonville defense. Their secondary is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think I was saying that the other day about Matt Ryan, but Christian Kirk, either way, he's wide receiver 2 for me this week. The matchup isn't great for him because Indianapolis is pretty they're pretty good against the wide receiver position. They actually are 32nd the last 3 weeks against the wide receiver position. Stephon Gilmore has been playing really well. We saw what he did on Thursday night against Cortland Sutton. So Evan Ingram, we talked about him. He's in a nice spot this week.
Yep.
Our stream of the week at the tight end position. So I think he has tight end 1 upside with the potential targets that might go his way. And you talked about the receiver, the wide receiver 2. Marvin Jones, obviously, he's capable of doing what he did last week. However, I think Zay Jones really was the wide receiver 2. He's just been injured the last few weeks, right? He's been on this injury report with this ankle. Missed the game as well. So, I feel like this is the same thing with Gabe Davis, right? Gabe Davis, people wanted to write him off and say, oh, he's like a wide receiver 3. But like we talked about, he's dealing with the ankle. It could be a similar situation here for Zay Jones. So just something to keep in mind, because I know he's somebody that's just floating around on waivers. And I like, we saw he had 11 target games, like back-to-back weeks or something like that. So, he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to the next game, we got this one's interesting, man. We got the 2-3 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to New Orleans to take on the 2-3 New Orleans Saints. This game has a 43.5 point total, where the Cincinnati Bengals are 1.5 point favorites on the road. I will take the under here. I will take. Oh, sorry, I didn't even talk about injuries. There are a ton of injuries in here. Hayden Hurst, he's questionable with the groin. T. Higgins, DNP with an ankle for New Orleans. Chris Olave is limited with a concussion. Michael Thomas is DNP with a foot. Jarvis Landry, DNP with an ankle. Jameis Winston, limited participant with a back and an ankle. And then Deontay Hardy, he's DNP with a foot. And there's a bunch of other guys questionable for New Orleans there. I am going to take the under. I am going to take New Orleans to cover. I'm going to take New Orleans to win this game. If T. Higgins can't go, I think it caps the upside for both Burrow and Chase. Still see them as ones at the position. Hayden Hurst, if he can go, he's a tight end 1 for sure, especially if Higgins is out. Tyler Boyd has some wide receiver 2 appeal, potentially even with Higgins out. The New Orleans run defense has been pretty good. So, but Joe Mixon rather, still, I think he's still undervalued. I know we say it every week, and he comes out here and underperforms from a fantasy perspective, but the volume is great. The touchdowns just really haven't been there. There was opportunities last week for him to get a goal line touchdown. It just didn't come for him. So I think you got to keep playing him. And he's somebody, again, I would continue to buy. I've been saying I would trade James Robinson for him if I could. And I would definitely do that in a heartbeat. Tyler Boyd has some, or I talked about Tyler Boyd for New Orleans. Kamara, he's an RB1. I guess Taysom Hill is a tight end streaming option. And if none of these wide receivers can go, I don't think I'm really all that interested in anyone. Like maybe a Marquez Callaway, but like I don't know. It'd be tough.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the over here. I'm gonna take Cincy to cover and Cincy to win. On Cincinnati side, though, you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, definitely ones at the position, but that having Higgins there definitely will put more attention on Chase. But Boyd always seems to like be a good instant plug and play when there's no Higgins, so I put him definitely in flex category there, so that's playable for sure. Joe Mixon, yeah, he's still on total points, he's the RB 15 on the year. That's still very solid. I mean, that's a borderline RB1 without the touchdown projection. So that means if when the touchdowns comes, he's going to have explosive days. I'm still definitely on board with Joe Mixon as well. Of course, he's a must-start option for the Bengals. Hayden Hurst also a must-start option. He's going to get targeted continuing throughout the year. Probably coming off his best game of the season against Baltimore last week. So on the New Orleans side, um, Kamar definitely bouncing back last week. You're playing him as an RB1. Taysom Hill, just he's like, kind of like you have to just have the Mike Williams approach to him, kind of just for tight ends. Hopefully he can give you, not going to give you one of those boom days he had last week, but you're expecting him to get those packages in the red zone and get some yards and get a touchdown. So it's definitely worth it. And yeah, that is about it. I'm with you in the receivers. Chris Olave was the only one I was willing to start. And if Mike MT can't go either, then yeah, there's no one else that's startable too.
Yep. Let's move on to the next one. We've got the 3-2 Green Bay or New York Jets traveling to Lambeau to take on a 3-2 Green Bay Packers. This game has a 46.5-point total, where the Green Bay Packers are 7-point home favorites. Weather concerns, there are none in this game. Maybe a little bit cold, but that's about it. Christian Watson, the wide receiver, DMP with a hamstring for Green Bay, questionable. A bunch of other guys questionable as well. For the New York Jets, edge player Jermaine Johnson, he's day to day with an ankle. So he's a situational pass rusher. So, that's not a huge impact there. In terms of the game here, Greg, what are you going with?
It's tough. I think I'm gonna take the over. I'm definitely taking the Jets to cover. I want to take the Jets to win really badly because they match up well with the Packers, but they're in Lambeau. It's going to be tough. So I'm gonna take the Packers, but Jets definitely got to cover. I mean, they were able to get a lot of hits on the QB. They're a team that rushes the quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the receiver juice to like really get out of situations like that. So I definitely don't like the matchup here. I think Aaron Rodgers though is QB2. I think if it's a high scoring game, he might have QB1 upside, but I'm treating him as a high end QB2. Aaron Jones is a RB1, low in RB1. AJ Dillon, I think, is RB3 flex. The receiver is really a big question mark. We really don't know who's going to be the one to pop up. I don't know if I could trust any of them on a weekly basis. If you want to have a dart throw in a deeper league on Randall Cobb, I'm with that. I brought him up in the waiver pod. So I'm kind of leaning. He has the most rapport with Aaron Rodgers, so that's probably the only one I'm willing to throw out there. On the Jet side, Brees Hall, RB1, Michael Carter. I think you could, RB3 conversation as well. As far as the receivers, Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson, I think are both playable. Especially Corey Davis has been a good sleeper this year, good value at the wide receiver position, getting targeted. And getting a good amount of yards. So, yeah, I think both of them are in flex conversation. Wide receiver 2, Garrett Wilson having higher upside.
Yeah, I am gonna take the over. I am with you. I am taking the Jets to cover 7. I really want to take the Jets to win.
Yeah.
That boy Caden is asking, is Michael Carter a start since he vultures or a flex? He's definitely a flex option.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of those touchdowns, he's not. I mean, Brees Hall has taken over this backfield really, so it's tough to and this is coming from somebody who's starting Michael Carter every week out of necessity.
I mean, it's the RB market too. Like around that RB3 area, he's one of the most productive ones. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I play him over a guy like Antonio Gibson this week. I'll tell you that much. Because there's no telling how much Gibby's going to be involved with. I mean, we saw the reports today. Brian Robinson, going to be Brian Robinson's going to be the starter this week and the lead back be featured tonight. So yeah, definitely not over Eno Benjamin. That boy Caden's asking over Eno Benjamin, and I would definitely play Eno Benjamin this week.
Yeah, if he's the lone starter, James Conner or
Darrell Williams
can't go. Yeah, Eno Benjamin's the start.
Yeah, he gets that backfield to himself in a cake matchup.
Yeah.
For the in terms of the game here, I'm Green Bay. I'm taking them to win the game here. Like we said, the matchup is real nice. But for the Green Bay side, Aaron Jones is an RB1. AJ Dillon, a low end flex option. Low end RB3 flex option. Aaron Rodgers looks to be in a tough spot. The Jets are on early downs in neutral game script in the first 3 quarters over the last 3 weeks are the number 1 pass defense. They're number 4 on the season, but they've also played a combination of Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Skylar Thompson the last 2 weeks. So maybe Rodgers can take advantage of a better matchup here and finish as a QB1. I know Randall Cobb had 13 targets, and you could definitely throw him in there in a pinch, but I still lean Lazard and Dobbs. I feel like they have the more upside there, but if you're looking for safe 8 points, he had 13 targets last week, so you could potentially walk out with more than 8 points, but not going to get a lot of yards. Tunyon, a tight end option. I mean, he hasn't been great, but he's attached to Aaron Rodgers, and there's not much at receiver, so he makes sense to put him in your lineup. For the Jets side, Breece Hall, he's definitely arrived as an RB1. We talked about Michael Carter already. I think the wide receivers are more involved in a competitive game, so Garrett Wilson is where I would lean. But I agree with you. Corey Davis has definitely been involved. Zach Wilson looks comfortable with throwing the football to him, especially on third downs. Zach Wilson makes an intriguing streaming option at the position. That could definitely be used in 2 quarterback leagues. If the Jets do win this game, Zach Wilson will have had something to do with it. Last week was a fluke with the competitive game script, and so that's why I think Conklin is in play as a tight end 1 again this week.
Yeah, definitely like that bounce back from Conklin. Game script didn't favor it last week, though.
No, for sure, did not. Moving on to the next matchup here, and we got the 2-3 New England Patriots traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the 2-3 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 42.5 point total, where the Cleveland Browns are 3-point home favorites. Weather is okay in this game. In terms of injuries for Cleveland, there's a bunch of guys questionable. Cornerback Denzel Ward is in concussion protocol, and he's questionable for the game. Linebacker Deion Jones, who was recently traded from Atlanta, was designated to return from the injured reserve, so it's a possibility he could play this weekend against the Patriots. And for New England, Damian Harris, he's limited with a hamstring. Jonnu Smith, the tight end, limited with an ankle. Jacoby Myers, the wide receiver, limited with a knee. Nelson Aguilar, the wide receiver, limited with a hamstring. And Mac Jones is questionable with a high ankle sprain. A bunch of other guys questionable because obviously that's how the Patriots like to do it. But I will take the over here. I will take New England to cover. I will take New England to win. For Cleveland, I'm all in on the entire offense. Jacoby Brissett, nice streaming option. Njoku, a tight end 1 option. Nick Chubb, he's an RB1. Kareem Hunt, an RB2. Amari Cooper, a wide receiver 2 with some wide receiver 1 upside. For New England, love another week for Ramondre. Going to be the lead back with Damian Harris probably not going to play in this game. Jacoby Myers, he's definitely a wide receiver one, seeing insane volume at the position. That's it for me on the New England side with the uncertainty at quarterback. If Mac Jones plays, maybe I'm more interested in some of these other pieces, but Bailey Zappi hasn't been terrible either. So, maybe you can take a shot on guys like a Nelson Aguilar or a Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Cleveland to cover and Cleveland win. Definitely gonna be a very close game. Both these teams rely on the run heavy, so they're gonna, think both eat each other up on that end. Cleveland definitely love the running game here. Nick Chubb, bona fide RB1, Kareem Hunt, RB2. Mari Cooper, you're starting him as a low end wide receiver one. And David Njoku, I think, has some streaming value at the tight end position. So, I mean, if you love those options, Jacoby Brissett, I think, has also streaming value as well. Patriots secondary has struggled this year. As far as the Patriots side, Ramondre Stevenson, yes, this season is here for sure. Continue to play him I think he's going to give you RB1 performance here as the lone back. He's going to get close to 20 carries, so that's RB1 production. I mean, value right there. And Jacoby Myers, I'm with you. Got to play him as the receiver I want in this offense. Yeah, that is all pretty much it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in this game. There's something interesting about this game. Who did you take to win?
Cleveland. Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is this week. It was just like these games feels like a weird week. But anyway, the 4-1 Minnesota Vikings travel to Miami to take on the 3-2 Miami Dolphins. This game has a 45.5 point total, where the Miami Dolphins are 3-point home underdogs. I'm going to. Oh, the weather, there's no concerns there. For Miami, Raheem Mostert is questionable with a knee injury. He returned to practice after missing practice yesterday. Teddy Bridgewater, he's already been ruled. I believe he's been ruled out of this game.
Yeah, he has.
Tua Tagovailoa has been. It's said that he returned to practice. So they said that he could be active, but he would not start.
Yeah,
So
Teddy's questionable too, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna go with Skylar Johnson.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel had already said Skylar Thompson will be the starter this week. Durham Smythe, the tight end, he's limited with a hamstring. For Minnesota, Alexander Madison, he's limited with a shoulder. Running back Ty Chandler was placed on IR with a thumb. Za'Darius Smith, the linebacker, he's limited with a knee injury. And then a Caleb Evans, the cornerback, is questionable with a concussion. Greg, where are you going with this matchup?
I think I'm gonna go with the over. Take the Vikings to cover and the Vikings to win. On the Viking side, I do like Kirk Cousins this week. I think he's a QB1 this week for sure. It's not prime time. Kirk Cousins every QB1. Dalvin Cook, you're starting him. He's a must start. Jefferson, of course, must start. Irv Smith, played a lot last week. He had an improvement in his performance last week, so I think he's also in streaming conversation as a tight end. Could give you I think possibly a tight end 1 week this week. So you put him in out there. As far as the secondary receivers, it's tough after Jefferson. Thielens pretty been banged up. KJ Osborne is going to be here and there, so I think you just really got to hone in on Jefferson as being the only must start here in this offense. On the Miami side, Morstead is again banged up. If he's able to go, I think he's the running back I want as a RB2. If he's not, Chase Edmonds possibly gets a bump, but I think he's had opportunity to really be great in this offense, but it hasn't really been the case. So I think his upside is at RB2 as well. He's more the RB3 for me. And then as far as the receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, I think they do get a slight downgrade with the quarterback change. So I think Tyreek Hill is more of a both strong wide receiver twos. Obviously, if it gets high scoring though, they're going to be involved and get some wide receiver one upside. But I wouldn't go crazy on them.
Yeah, I am taking the over Gonna take Miami to cover. I'm gonna take Miami to win. Feel like Mike McDaniel with a week. I mean, he's already proven to be one of the better offensive minds in the league, and you
Yeah,
give him a full week now with the with Skylar Thompson. I feel like he can actually come up with a game plan against a defense that is not good. Um, for Miami, Tyreek Hill, a wide receiver 2 with some wide receiver 1 upside. Jaylen Waddle, he's in the same boat. I mean, he's getting healthier as was finally not on the did not start the week off on the injury report. So that's huge, I think, for his upside going forward. Raheem Mostert, I think he is the RB1. I mean, Chase Edmonds is he's pretty much relinquished that role. The thing is, I don't think you can cut Chase Edmonds because we know
right.
Raheem Mostert's injury history. So
That
uh,
49ers cloth.
yeah,
Still got it
so
on.
so Raheem Mostert, he's an RB1 this week for Minnesota. Dalvin Cook, he's an RB1. Justin Jefferson, a top 3 wide receiver option. Kirk Cousins, a top 10 option at the position. I think Adam Thielen does have wide receiver 2 upside this week. I know it's been tough, but I think in the matchup, you could get away with playing him. Irv Smith is so blah. I want nothing to do with them,
Yo, he
honestly.
had he had a solid week last week, actually. He was
Was
out
he?
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it was like what 8.3, something like that.
Was it? Okay, good for him.
Yeah, yeah,
Good for him.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup. We've got the 3-2 Baltimore Ravens traveling to MetLife to take on the 4-1 New York Giants. This game has a 44.5 point total, where the Baltimore Ravens are 5-point road favorites. In terms of the matchup here, or in terms of the weather, no weather concerns. In terms of injuries, Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver, a DNP again Wednesday and Thursday with that foot injury, so unlikely that he will suit up this week. Justice Hill, the running back, limited participant with a hamstring. Justin Houston, the edge pass rusher, DNP with a groin. For the Giants, linebacker Saquon Barkley, or running back Saquon Barkley,
He's everything.
limited participant with a shoulder. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney, DNP with a hamstring. Wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, limited with a knee injury. Defensive end Leonard Williams, limited with a knee injury. Tony Jefferson, the safety, DNP with a foot, and a bunch of other guys questionable. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the Giants to cover because they simply do that, and I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens to win this game. There's a lot of familiarity here in coaching staffs. Wink Martindale, who is the Giants defensive coordinator, was recently the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator for the last 3 years. He knows that personnel pretty well, knows John Harbaugh pretty well, knows, I'm sure, Lamar Jackson and Greg Roman pretty well as well. And then Brian Daboll, he comes from Buffalo Bills, and they've had experience playing against this Baltimore defense, in the past. So I think there's a lot of familiarity between these two teams, especially the Ravens being able to know Wink Martindale as well. So going to be an interesting matchup, and the chess match is going to be fun to watch for these two games, or for these two teams. But on the fantasy analysis, Lamar, he's a QB1. Mark Andrews, a tight end 1. I think J.K. Dobbins is an RB3 until he proves otherwise. I mean, he is outside of that one game against New England. Was it New England? I think with the 2 touchdown game. He hasn't really done all that, been all that productive. For the New York Giants, I'd like to see who the pass game options are, but if Daniel Jones has a shot for a QB1 type week, just with his legs alone, obviously. But if he could really get some upside in this matchup, because the matchup is really, really nice, in the pass game. So if he can get some help from the receivers, I'd be more inclined to really be interested in playing him, especially in 2 quarterback leagues or maybe some DFS options. But Saquon Barkley, he's an RB1, obviously, and then Darius Slayton, he has some intrigue as one of the only healthy wide receivers for the New York Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson continues to be a stash. Don't worry, Greg, I won't say his name, and I'm not afraid to throw Daniel Bellinger out there at tight end.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Giants to cover, but I'm gonna take Baltimore to win. Um, Baltimore, of course, it's it's kind of easy at this point. Lamar Jackson must start. Mark Andrews must start. Top three as his position. I'm gonna give JK more of a low end RB2 just because he hasn't. It's not a huge sample size for him so far. So, but he could. I think he's the main guy right now, especially until Gus Edwards comes back. So I would put him out there as low on RB2. Um, on the Giants side, Darren Jones has intrigue with just his legs alone. Even if the score doesn't matter, I think he can fall. I think he's in Superflex conversation. I still don't trust the receivers though, for sure. I just have to see just something, even against this poor secondary. It's just tough. They made Joe Burrow struggle a little bit when you don't have like two or three great receivers. The Giants don't have one, so it's gonna be rough for them. But Barkley, must start always every week. He's the entire team. Offense, the defense holds their own, but yeah, offensively it's all Saquon, RB1.
Yeah, I like that. Moving on to the next matchup, we've got the 3-2 San Francisco 49ers. The next matchup and the last matchup, the 3-2 San Francisco 49ers traveling to take on the 2-3 Atlanta Falcons. This game has a 43.5-point total, where the San Francisco 49ers are 5.5-point road favorites. In terms of the injuries, Kyle Pitts questionable with a hamstring, limited participant in practice. So that's good news. He's trending in the right direction to probably do nothing in your fantasy lineup. Just kidding. Drake London, he is not on the injury report, and was at practice and was dealing with an ankle injury apparently. But he's good to go. And then for San Fran, they got some injuries on the defensive side of the football. Defensive end Nick Bosa, he's a DNP with a groin. Eric Armstead, the defensive lineman, he's out with a foot. Bosa, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, can go. Potentially has a chance to play. Eric Armstead, he is out. Like I said, Jimmy Ward, the safety, he is out with it, after having hand surgery. And then they have a bunch of other guys questionable. Greg, where are you with this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take San Fran to cover and San Fran to win. Um, yeah, I mean, Atlanta's defense is really bad, so I think Jimmy G is in a good streaming spot here. Um, Definitely streaming category here, so you can put him out there, has some QB1 upside, especially if he's going to get to his guys Debo and Brandon Ayuk. I like his and George Kittle. I do like his receivers in this matchup. Debo being a wide receiver, RB1, whatever you want to call him. Brandon Ayuk with some flex upside, and George Kittle tied in one. Jeff Wilson Jr. Is entering, low borderline RB1 category with this usage. He's got 74 carries to the first in his time with San Fran. He gave him in the volume, but I think he's strong RB2 with the matchup. I think it's RB1 upside. On the Atlanta side, Mariota also, it's kind of like the Daniel Jones argument. He's going to give you some safe value with his legs. So I think he is, in that super flex category still. No Cordell Patterson, so I'm not really trusting any of the running backs. But if Drake London and Kyle Pitts can go, you're starting them. Definitely still more confident in Drake London than Kyle Pitts. But you're throwing Kyle Pitts out there unless you have a really hot option right now to play over Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody.
Maybe I'll be willing to throw Taysom Hill out there over Kyle Pitts. Like if I was in that position.
You make a good point. Taysom Hill. I mean, the upside is obviously we've seen it already, and Kyle Pitts we haven't seen. The upside was like 10 points.
Yeah.
So I still obviously am a believer, and feel like it's once those opportunities continue to come. He did have a 25% target share over his last 3 games, so we'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, obviously at the tight end position, I'm still willing to give a guy a chance because
it's tight ends.
It's tight ends. So
yeah,
if this was like a running back, like obviously I would not be this committed, right? Like Elijah Moore, like I've already said repeatedly that we should be dropping him. As of this most recently this week, but so Kyle Pitts is a little bit different, especially with the profile, and especially because Arthur Smith is so stubborn in having to throw the football or having to run the football, but they're winning, so he's not going to change his ways. So, anyways, everyone, we really appreciate you kicking it with us. Sorry for the time. But we appreciate you still sticking with us and vibing out, because eventually we figured it out. And that's what we do, problem solvers. Hopefully we're solving problems on your fantasy team. And hopefully we're so preventative that you don't even have problems. But probably unlikely, because everybody's got problems. Anyway, we'll catch y'all on Saturday. We'll do Game 2 previews Part 2, break down our starts of the week, as well as play some Get Money. I think I won last week, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so have a good one, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Dat Boy Caden says, see you guys on the next one. Appreciate you. We're out of here. Peace.
Yeah.